Hello and welcome to YHTV. I'm Christina Suzuma, your host of this new program. This is episode number 3 of Flowing into Awareness with visionary and master intuitive Anatara. Today's episode is tuning in and tuning out. Hello, Anatara. Greetings to you.
Hello, Christina. Nice to see you.
I love that title, tuning in and tuning out. Am I here or am I out?
No, that's you have perceived exactly what I was trying to say when that idea came to me, when that title came to me. And it struck me that we live in two states. All of us. We are sometimes in a state of awareness where we are tuned in, either physically or perceptually or spiritually. And then there are the times when we're tuned out. And it occurred to me that what would it mean if we did that more consciously than we do? Mm-hmm. And what would it mean if we could know that we wanted to be tuned out and therefore sort of put to rest some of the signals that we receive from our environment? And then what would it be like if we decided that we wanted to be tuned in again? That's sort of a light way to look at this, but I think that we are so frequently at the mercy of whatever it is that we're thinking or whatever it is that is happening to us. And I know that we can become more perceptive by being more directed personally in whether we're tuned in or whether we're tuned out. And there's, being tuned out is fine. Make the decision that right now I don't need to be aware of anything. Make the decision that right now I don't need to pay attention to this or that. Make the decision that I don't want to hear what's happening in the other realms right now. And then at some point make the decision that I really do want to be tuned in. Mm. I really, really do want to hear through my intuition what's going on around me. I want to be tuned in because when I'm tuned out, I miss things. And when I'm tuned out, I am unaware of a lot of the information and signals that would be available to me were I tuned in. So I suppose I started to observe in the past couple days the moments when I'm tuned in and when I'm tuned out in the way I've just been describing it to you. And I noticed that there were definitely patterns to that, which are fine. And there would be times when I was tired. For instance, I drove to the Grand Canyon and back yesterday, and it was almost 6 hours of driving that I did. And when I was tired, I didn't want to tune into anything. I wanted to be sort of suspended in any sort of action that would give me information about where I was driving or something else I might want to hear about or know about. But then the most interesting thing happened because I realized that when I thought I was tuned out, actually, I was really available for the subtleties of every bit of awareness that could be available to me. And through seeing that pattern, I saw that maybe I'm tuned in most of the time. And maybe the moments of being tuned out are just a different part or a different level of the perception of being tuned in. So that was part of what I was focusing on, part of what I was looking at as I was thinking about being tuned in or being tuned out. I think that frequently we as individuals, we as people are tuned out. And all that really means to me in this context is that we're letting the mind decide what we pay attention to. And we're letting the mind give us information through our senses and through other things that we receive about what's important and about what we are going to do with what we hear or think or sometimes know. And that when we are tuning into the mind, we are very frequently tuned out from or tuned out of that ever-present broadcast of information flowing to us from the multiverse around us. And if we consciously start to to look at what feels like a tuning in to us, and what feels like as if there's been a veil pulled across it and we are now tuned out, that we might start to see how either being tuned in or tuned out affects us physically. And we might start to see how being tuned in or tuned out affects us emotionally. And then we can start to decide and notice whether we'd like to change that, and whether we'd like to ask for more moments of our day to be well informed through the expanded awareness that I frequently make reference to. And sometimes it's just plain nice to lie down and completely tune out and give that to ourselves as a gift. So I'm not suggesting that we need to be tuned in all the time. I'm pointing out that we have a lot more control over what point we fix our awareness on. And we have a lot more control of how we use the information that we receive from whatever we're fixed on and being aware of than we usually think we do. Have you noticed that kind of thing for yourself?
Oh, yes. I mean, there was a time where it was like too much from too many worlds, as you say. And it is about learning how to create the balance for oneself, like really be still. And really it's about the stillness, whether you want to call it meditation or just lying down. And in yoga, it's that final shavasana where you're lying down and just breathing and taking focus even of your own body. I mean, that's still being aware and things are flowing in. And, I have to admit though, I have to say, you said earlier on about you feel like you are usually tuned in most of the time. Well, I have to say, I kind of feel the same way here. Sarah, it's like even the moments where I go, and take that moment to just disconnect, as I say, like disconnect all the cables from everything. There is still a whole nother awareness going on that is more internal and, just feeling the flow within the body, within, the spiritual realms, etc. That I don't know if I ever really tune out anymore.
Okay. And that's beautifully describes the subtleties of being tuned in and or being tuned out, the different sorts of awareness that we are capable of indulging in, the different sorts of signals that we can perceive and that we can pick up. And when we tune out of that mind chatter, and when we tune out of the detail, that those inner places that you're describing in a lovely way are far more available. And my goal, for myself, and when I say most of the time I'm tuned in, that's what I mean. That even when the chatter is happening, and even when the busyness is sometimes seemingly overwhelming, there are those messages, those internal, those internal inklings and the quietness that speaks to me about what to do with the busyness. I think that really what I want to share is that we're not at the mercy of what the mind wants us to do. And I say this in many different ways. And so we're not at the mercy of being tuned out from the inner so that the outer and the mind can control us. We can choose where and how we are tuned in or tune out of whatever it is that we want to be focused on and give our attention to. And by recognizing the patterns of how that happens for us, we then can create, it's like creating a little map for yourself about what sets you off in certain ways, and what brings you closer to being tuned in than at other times. And there's no right or wrong to any of this. It's what works for you, what is perceptually symbiotic with the candidness of your essence. And the candidness of your essence is you without any filters. It's you without any screens. And how often do you find that part of yourself? How often do you say, and no, here I am. I am tuned into that essence. It's something to look at. Yeah.
What a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful imagery that you bring up when you speak of that.
Mhm.
You know, it's really connecting on all those levels, isn't it?
Exactly, exactly. And bringing the connections into one essence, which is who you really are, so that you're not drawn apart or pulled apart or overwhelmed
Mhm.
too frequently.
And I would say for some individuals as well, it's almost a little bit frightening for some individuals to actually tune into who they are.
Very, very. That's a completely accurate statement. And why is that? Why is it frightening? Why is it so strange? Maybe it's because it's unknown. Maybe it's because we don't learn in school how to tune into our essence. Maybe it's because there is a kind of intrigue and power there that we don't share and we don't feel all the time, so that it's uncertain,
Mm-hmm.
or it feels, in the unknown elements of it, we think, I can't go there. It's not safe. That's not right. I'm not allowed to be there. I'm not allowed to know that. I'm not allowed to experience that part of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm here to say, go ahead, find it. And know that as you enter more and more into your tuned in essence self, that your centeredness and your stillness and your peacefulness becomes clearer, becomes more sure, becomes more real. And that once you get over the bumps, perhaps, of wondering whether it's safe, you know it's safe.
Mm-hmm. Lovely, lovely, Anatara. What a wonderful message that you bring us this week. Tuning in and tuning out. And right now you're in the lovely Sedona, Arizona right now. So as you are plugged in, I know you are. It's a really, really wonderful piece for us to take through our week and become more aware of. Thank you so much.
You're really welcome. It's such a pleasure to share it with you,
Thank
with all of.
Thank you, Anatara, and thank you everyone for joining us here today. We invite you to join us live every Tuesday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1:30 Eastern Time for our Magical Medical Tour with our Dr. Glenn Woolman. Wednesdays for Trinity of Life at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And every other week, followed by this new show, Flowing into Our Awareness with Anatara. Now, Anatara also offers intuitive readings, which she calls angel listenings. She's also a spiritual counselor for over 25 years and has clients throughout the U.S., Canada, and Europe. So if you would like to be in touch with Anatara, you can find her at myyogahub.com/Anatara, Anatara, or on Twitter at Anatara, and of course through her own site, anatara.ca. Until next time, we wish you all a wonderful tuning in and tuning out. Namaste.